identity and the voice that drove me in those days of achievement is, I'm just going to be very blunt and honest with you. I don't mean to do this to be shocking, but on a daily basis, I called myself a loser. And I would motivate myself by, you don't want to be a loser. You don't want people to find out you're a loser. So you need to go do this. You need to learn more. You need to achieve more. You need to stay longer. You need to make sure you're spending more time with that surgeon and learning these things. You need to read more manual. And I drove myself out of a place of fear that people were going to find out that this loser was in this position with these incredibly bright, smart people. And the minute they found out, I was going to get kicked out of the operating room. The first year, I wanted to stay in medicine. And the Holy Spirit and I had a really strong wrestling match about, I'm staying in medicine. You know, you gave me free will for a reason, so I'm using my free will to stay in medicine. And so he said, okay, I'll just close, because I had this amazing skill set, you guys. And I worked for the premier company in the surgical technology space. So I had the best resume, the best experience. Like, there was no problems there. And I got some job offers, but they were for things that would put me in a similar environment. And everything else, it was either the door closed or the job was not right for an entire year. Door closed, door closed, door closed, door closed. And finally I woke up and said, okay, so we're done with medicine. What are we doing now?
This episode, we will talk about aligned success, from achievement to success. This is a very interesting topic because a lot of people, they achieve, they climb, they go up, they climb the mountain. And when they're on top, they're like, okay, how did I get on top? And I still don't feel happy. I still don't feel aligned. I'm still not feeling like I'm supposed to be here. And I put so much effort to be at the top of this mountain. So what's happening? And that's exactly what happened during Kathryn's story. And it's so amazing how you can be one of the few people in the whole world able to perform certain jobs. It must feel, wow, that's amazing, right? It's success. And how you can be on top of the world mountain of success and still not feel that it's your place to be. So if you are a high achiever or not, you can just listen and discover. So first of all, go ahead and introduce yourself to listeners, to the viewers, so they know about you more.
So great. Thanks for mentioning that. I didn't know what I could share or what I couldn't share about how you and I know each other. So thanks for bringing that up. I have been a coach for about the last 4 years, and it's taken various forms of coaching. I'm currently coaching in my private practice medical professionals to walk away from the corporate medical structure and go out and start their own private practices. I also am a contracted coach with the David Bear organization. And if you don't know David, he specializes in working with mission-driven entrepreneurs who are called to build mission-driven businesses that serve humanity. So yes, you can still make money and serve humanity. And so that's my privilege to work with David's organization as well.
Yes, that's how we met, through David's organization. When I joined the program, it was so amazing. Now, I want to go back a little bit to your story, because right now you shared this, like, you feel that you belong here. You like what you do. You feel you're aligned with your purpose right now, but it wasn't the story. And I know that you were, share this, what you were top of the, like, how does it feel to be one of the few people in the world able to perform specific job? How does it feel even? How did you climb that mountain even?
Yeah, it's so we would be here for the next week for me trying to explain to you how all
Okay, try to compress that.
Yeah, so for what your audience, the important things for your audience to know is I was at the top of my game 5 years ago working for a surgical technology company that I was one of 500 people in the world who knew how to do what I did. And the short version of what I did is I ran intraoperative imaging equipment as well as sophisticated software and computer systems for brain surgeons. We'll just keep it super simple there. And I had the privilege of working at places like Mayo Clinic and Stanford. And I was in the most complex types of brain surgeries you can imagine because over a 17-year period, I had worked my way up to an experience level where if there was certain types of surgeries, the surgeon wanted me in the room running the equipment. And that was a real privilege because the time I spent with them, these are what we call academic institutions. So that's where future surgeons and physicians go to learn. And so while I was spending 8, 10, 12, 14 hours in the operating rooms with these surgeons, they were also teaching surgeons and neuroscientists to be everything they knew. So I got
Mhm.
this incredible medical school education without ever having to go to medical school. And I got to learn so much about how the brain works, how it functions. And I never really put together the piece of neuroscience plus psychiatry or psychology. And thanks to the work I did when I was in that field earlier, when I moved out into the coaching space, I didn't think I could bring any of that work with me. And it turns out all of everything I learned in the operating room is still relevant today. And I got to fuse that with mindset principles, psychology principles, and it's something that really helps move the needle for the clients that I work with. So I got to the top of that neurosurgery pinnacle. It was beautiful, but I had to live on somebody else's schedule. And it got to the point after 17 years of essentially being on call 24/7, I couldn't do it anymore, but I didn't know what else to do.
Yes, and this I remember you shared that story with me, that something a little about you, that it wasn't easy. So on one hand, you spend most of your adult life trying to climb somewhere, right? To achieve something, to show that you can do it. And then, yes, and you enjoy it and you learn and you become amazing and professional and recognized. But you said it was about the schedule, right? You were on somebody else's schedule. There were other signs that were showing you that no, it's not for me. Even though, so I want you to share a little bit, if you can, about this inner dialogue, and because I know old identity is gonna catch you, even if it doesn't feel anymore like something you should be doing, it will catch you, it will try to reason with you. So what was your inner dialogue when you started understanding, no, it's not for me? And how did you get out of that? Because it's not easy, and many people get stuck till the very end, till the last of day, doing something they don't want to do.
Yeah. No, that's a fantastic question, and I wish more people would ask me that because the identity and the voice that drove me in those days of achievement is I'm just going to be very blunt and honest with you. I don't mean to do this to be shocking, but I on a daily basis I called myself a loser. And I would motivate myself by, you don't want to be a loser. You don't want people to find out you're a loser. So you need to go do this, 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 this. You need to learn more. You need to achieve more. You need to stay longer. You need to make sure you're spending more time with that surgeon and learning these things. You need to read more manuals. And I drove myself out of a place of fear that people were going to find out that this loser was in this position with these incredibly bright, smart people. And the minute they found out, I was going to get kicked out of the operating room. So that drove me for the entirety of my career. And I didn't fully understand it until recently. It took me leaving that environment to actually see it. I still didn't understand that I was talking to myself that way. And one of the things I uncovered, I just started writing a book a couple months ago that'll be released next year. One of the things I uncovered, this is the beauty if you're writing about your experiences, is a pattern that I can share with your audience now that they might recognize in themselves. And that pattern started when I was a girl. My father died of pancreatic cancer when I was 16. And I made the decision at that age that everything was up to me. I could not count on anybody going forward. I had to do every single thing myself. And people were always going to leave you. Obviously, my dad got sick and died. That wasn't on purpose, but I made the decision that you can never count on anybody else doing anything for you because you will be left or they will die and you're on your own. And that pattern drove me in a way that I didn't fully understand until 2 months ago.
It's incredible when we look at our journey back. It's like, oh, that was the driver. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And it was so cruel. It was an unbelievably cruel voice that drove me on a daily basis. And I've been getting to the genesis of where that started, and like so many of us, and for those of your audience, they might recognize it in themselves. We make decisions in our childhood around what an adult they might not mean anything negative at all, but an adult will say something to you, and your child brain will interpret it to the negative.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like everybody, this should be taught at school. I feel like a lot of information that we know as adults, where I will keep wondering and keep asking, why is not these things are not taught at school? So when you started noticing you're unhappy at the work, like you don't want to leave anybody's schedule anymore, you don't want to prove anything, and how did you make this decision? Okay, I'm gonna leave it behind. And how was this process happening? Did you have something pulling you back, reasoning to stay? Because I'm sure you did.
So I can't remember if I shared the story with you, Anna, or not, but I got so for your audience, they should know I'm a woman of faith, and I got the gift of the worst day of my entire career. It was a 17-hour day in the operating room. Where next week is the 5-year mark of that. And it was a day where everything that could go wrong did. And so many of the patterns that had driven me my entire life all collided during that 17-hour day. I didn't ask anybody for help. I was running in between operating rooms. Surgeons were yelling at me. Equipment was getting dropped. My equipment was being crashed into walls. My systems were freezing. Like it was pure panic, pure everything all day long. And the thing that was getting me through making that day is I kept telling myself, as soon as I get done, I'm going to go to the store and buy my favorite bottle of wine as a treat. So that was my thing to keep me going. I never went to the store because I didn't get out of the hospital until midnight. And I had to turn around the next day and be back to the hospital by 6 a.m. And that's what I describe as day one in my new alcohol-free life. So we can talk a little bit more about that. But that was the day that there was no conscious choice there. It was gifted to me by the Holy Spirit that it's time to do something.
Yes, really, I love how you put it, the gift of the worst day at my work. And so many people, we had previous episodes of podcasts from Pain to Purpose with Julian and other guests. Everybody shares the same. Their pain turned into gift. Whatever they've been through, their struggles turned into the purpose. And sometimes when you don't see it, right, like the spirit, faith, universe, God, whatever people believe in, or even your subconscious mind becomes self-sabotaging things and everything feels falling apart. It was the worst day of your life. But if you go back now, you say, well, maybe it was the best at that moment.
It really was. Because what it started was 3 days later, I had this streak going on that I hadn't had anything to drink. And what I want the audience to know, because this is who I started out coaching, was I wasn't an alcoholic, and I didn't drink alcohol to abuse it. I had anywhere from 1 to 3 glasses of wine a night, depending on what my surgery schedule was the next day, because you cannot be hungover in the operating room. What the function the alcohol played was, because I had zero self-care, I had zero self-awareness, I had no way to turn my mind down or off. So the alcohol was the switch that I flipped to turn my mind down or off. And by day 3 of not having anything, I was like, what do I do? Do I keep the streak going? What do I do? And that's when Holy Spirit spoke to me in the very center of the brain. If you're doing neurosurgery, there's something called XYZ coordinates. And where those coordinates meet in the center of the brain is where God spoke to me. And he told me, now is the time. And what I want everybody to know about that, I thought it was just about the drinking at that point. Nope. I'm still finding out. Now is the time for walking away from that career. Now is the time for starting a coaching business. Now is the time to do the podcast with Anna. That's what I'm finding out. Now's the time. Now's the time is the ongoing theme that I'm living my life by. But because of that worst day of my life.
Absolutely. This is so amazing. I feel the energy all over this call, and it's so amazing to feel it and transmit it to others. And how important is for people to know if you struggle with addiction, if you become self aware and you start seeing that. A lot of people at first they go into self blame. It happened to me. I don't know if it happened to you. Like, oh my God, how I was drinking, I was doing this, I was doing that. It was all so wrong. It's suddenly somebody turn on the light and you start seeing everything. But
Yeah.
this is one of the most amazing things can happen when you start seeing the patterns, when you start seeing what drive you, where you betray yourself, because that's when you can actually make another choice, because we live on autopilot. I always share this with people. It's like autopilot is driving us somewhere, and your autopilot, Kathryn, was driving you into self-sabotaging your health, not taking care of yourself, using alcohol just to survive, to switch off a little bit as a protection mechanism. And then suddenly God told you, Spirit told you, okay, it's time. It's time to take control of your life. And that's amazing. And how these things started unfolding for you, because it wasn't all like roses. I know it was a hard path. Yeah.
No, it wasn't an easy path. The first year, I wanted to stay in medicine. And the Holy Spirit and I had a really strong, strong wrestling match about I'm staying in medicine. You gave me free will for a reason, so I'm using my free will to stay in medicine. And so he said, "Okay, I'll just close," because I had this amazing skill set, you guys. And I worked for the premier company in the surgical technology space. So I had the best resume, the best experience. Like there was no problems there. And I got some job offers, but they were for things that would put me in a similar environment. And everything else, it was either the door closed or the job was not right for an entire year. Door closed, door closed, door closed, door closed. And finally, I woke up and said, okay, so we're done with medicine. What are we doing now? And he said, what I just pulled you out of, meaning the drinking, I need you to do for other people now. I want you to go and I want you to find other women like you and I want you to start coaching them. I'm like, pardon my language, what the hell do I know about coaching? Right? I, I'm the neuroscience lady. I'm the lady who helps the physicians find the subthalamic nucleus. What do I know about coaching? And so, through a process of trust, and Anna and I talked about this in our coaching sessions, that clarity comes from action. We take the action we know to take right now, and we trust that the next steps will reveal itself. And that's exactly what I started doing. I'm not going to tell you it was an easy process because it was.
Anybody who tells you that personal development and spirituality and awakening and coming to your purpose is an easy path have never done it. So let's just be let's be real there. But I feel it's still the most amazing and beautiful path if you have the right support, and you will. If you walk the path, you will meet the people who will support you along the way. So as I met you and David program, as people meet you, also others, as you met somebody at your path. So yeah, and I remember you were sharing this that stuck with me for a while, because I was going through the same thing. And people who find their calling and purpose, most of them, they go through the same thing. So first you mentioned that one door closed, second door closed, third door closed, but you were knocking on all the wrong doors. It's like, but you didn't know yet where to knock, and that's okay. How you will not know that it's not your door if you don't like knock and it's closed? So okay, that's not my door. But there is another thing you mentioned that our coaching, like it took time, and it was nothing was happening, nothing was happening, nothing was happening. And then suddenly what you mentioned, like 9 months or something, it was a long time.
A year.
A year, yes, a year, and like no big change. And you mentioned that, like, share the story. You had a little bit of savings, but still it was tough because so many people go
I
through
had
that. And I think it's
zero
just
saving. Yeah, that was it. Yep. Hmm.
so share that journey. Like you were educating, but nothing was happening, and you were living on your savings, right? You mentioned that to me. So income wasn't showing up for you as it should. So many people go through the same. Like, what were the moments when you were, okay, I'm done going back to the old life, or you kept going? What kept you going?
Yeah. That's a great question. The thing with the savings was the first 3 months, I did give myself permission to do nothing, and the place I lived had this beautiful resort-style pool area, and I spent a lot of time at the pool just, catching my breath, but yeah, for the next 9 months, all the doors closed, and then I was starting to run out of savings, and I'm like, "What am I going to do now?" And I got really afraid. I started, I hadn't told my family. They all knew I had quit. They didn't know why. None of them knew I had what I call this gray zone drinking problem. So I'm still in this place of zero visibility to my friends and family around what I was dealing with. They just knew I was trying to find a different role. And as the money started running out, I started understanding because my faith was getting stronger and stronger at this point. I was not somebody who had really strong faith 5 years ago. And, through a series of events and reading and praying and stuff, I started getting better and better at understanding, hearing when I was being spoken to about what next steps would be. And so as this trust was developing me and the money started to run out and I have to trust more and I have to trust more, all of a sudden I get this letter in the mail saying, "Oh, so you have these stock options." I had bought like 10 or 15 years previously. And now that I had been out of the company for a year, I had the ability to, because I had bought them at a discounted price. And so if I wanted to sell them, then I could sell them. And all of a sudden, I had another year worth of income to live on because I had made the decision that I wasn't going to pursue this medical stuff anymore. I was stepping full time into coaching. I had already started taking some coaching classes. I had just started finding David Bear, and I hadn't enrolled in his other programs yet, but he has some short term programs, and I had enrolled in that, and the money showed up. And that is the history of my entire last 5 years. Every time I let go of the attachment to the money and I trust that it's gonna show up, it shows up. It's never like $1 billion shows up. It's always the exact amount that I need.
Just yet, hold on to that thought about 1 billion. It still can, it
Hold
can
on to
still
the
show up.
$1 billion.
I love how you say, I gave myself permission to do nothing. Well, I feel as a scientist, you understand that your nervous system was completely fried at that time, burnt out. So of course, like, you didn't have even a choice. It was a matter of survival for your body. So your body actually allowed you to give yourself this permission to rest, to do nothing. But there are so many people who are not yet fully burnt out.
Right.
They're not yet, but they're like right where they can still tolerate. I just want to say that give yourself permission, do nothing to rest, and just notice how your body is feeling anxious. You cannot sit, you cannot rest. I'm pretty sure that happened to you, Kathryn. You were aware of these patterns where you cannot just like sit and be. You have to do something. High
The
achievers, they have it.
the other thing I wanted to add too, because I know you see this in your clients, is a lot of times we don't even understand that we're burned out.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think that's what's so valuable about coaches is they help us understand, "Girl, you're in burnout."
By the way, as someone who's coached so many professionals who are at the burnout, it's not about diagnosis or self-diagnosis. It still doesn't remove the help, get the help you need. But how would person stop and ask question, am I burned out? What would you look for?
If, the thing that got my attention, but I can see it now, I think it might help people to hear this, is I remember having multiple conversations with a dear friend of mine of saying, and these were the exact words, "I feel like I'm just surviving right now." And I kept telling myself it was going to be temporary. So if you find yourself using language like that, "I feel like I'm just surviving. I feel like I can't get ahead," then you really need to take a look at it. And there's all kinds of amazing free tools to discover if you're in burnout or not, because it can take very different forms. Mine was, I didn't have the ability to say no because it was just me. I was in a brand new state, brand new city, working with new customers, and there wasn't other support for me. So, but if you have people who you trust, I mean, go to them and say, "These are my symptoms. What do you think?" Because sometimes we just can't even see it, but everybody else can see it plain as day. You're a burnout.
Yes, like everybody can see it, but not you. But again, this is because you're inside of your autopilot. You cannot see your autopilot from the inside because it is right. You are in this in this, so that's why it's so important to to work with professionals, go into coaching. I don't know, wherever you feels aligned with you. So just join the programs. There are so many, as you said, so many more tools, and they're free and accessible, and you can just find the community of people. And there is something that you mentioned a lot of people go through. You've said the phrase, it will resonate with so many people. I felt invisible by my family and friends for a while, that nobody knew what was going on.
Mhm.
And if we look back at such situations, in many cases, it's not because people didn't want to support us or they didn't support us, because we were not open about what's going on, right? Because it's difficult for somebody to ask for help, to admit. We take it as failure, but it's never a failure, right? It's just a stage. So how did you manage that? Did you start opening up eventually between like friends and family? Did somebody start to know what's going on with you? How did that journey look like for you?
Well, I want to tell you I did that, but I did not do that. The place where I started feeling most comfortable to open up was I came across when I made the decision that, you know what, I don't want to be a drinker anymore. And the traditional means of helping kind of remove yourself, because I wasn't physically addicted to alcohol. And the only help available out there was for people who have serious alcohol addiction. So I had to create this system for myself. And part of the system that I was able to create is I found a group of ladies online who, through Facebook, who were all kind of in the same position that I was. And so once or twice a month, I would be on live calls with these ladies. And those were the first people I felt like I could open up to around the burnout, around who am I if I walk away from this job, who am I? Because my entire identity was wrapped up in the prestige of the work I was doing. And what does it look like to be a non-drinker in this world? And how do I want to do these things? And those were some of those ladies, as I was making progress, thanks to their help, I ended up coaching those ladies. So that's what gave me the ability, because that's where I started to seek help. That created the space and the opportunity for me to start understanding I did have what it took to be a coach. And in fact, they loved the neuroscience piece. And so, I thought I had coached about 100 ladies before I understood, like, for free, I did this. And I said, "Oh my gosh, you do have what it takes to be a coach." So that's when I started getting involved in David's programs about, like, how do you run a coaching business? Because I didn't know what to do. I'd been an employee my entire life, not an entrepreneur. And, so that was really the minute I started trusting somebody, it felt safe to trust people who I didn't really know versus family and friends. But you're right. The minute I started opening up to them around these thought patterns that were in my head, and the support was just fantastic. And the more I felt seen and heard, the faster and the more exponentially I started finding my identity again of who I'm created to be in this next version of.
Yes, it's so amazing. Sometimes we really, through this, we find like second family, I call it, right?
Yeah.
When people went through the same thing and you meet them at the right time. And what you mentioned, this thing, I've been through the same situation. You had to coach a lot of people for free to actually say, I have what it takes. But
Yeah.
the funny thing, I'm pretty sure you realized you have what it takes, not because you became a professional coach during those. You already were, this was your natural gift, not that like, this what life was creating you to be the coach. Even in the neuroscience, you were, I'm pretty sure, anticipating the needs. You were scanning the room in a way, right? You knew what's happening. You had to think of all the little details. So you analyze the pattern plus neuroscience. So you were already ready to be a coach, but all it took you for yourself to give yourself permission, right? To say, I can be a coach.
Yeah.
That's so amazing how we need to go long, long journey to see something so obvious, right? I
Mhm.
love it.
Well, the other thing I wanted to add too is, you're right. Every single thing that you move through in your life is preparing you for your next stage. And one of the things that was a block in my identity as a coach was it took me an entire year to figure out that I've always been an entrepreneur when my entire life I told myself I was not. And it was thanks to some work I did with my coach at the time, his name's Peter, that, I started walking through the entirety of my career, and every place I went, I had to build a new territory from 0, and we all had numbers that we had to hit. So I every single instance, I had a territory that made almost no money or was at 0, and it was my job to turn it into generating millions, and it ranged from 3 million to 10 million across the entirety of my career, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I was just generating money from somebody else, taking this little well, it wasn't paltry, compared to what it was a very good salary, but, I could have been generating $10 million a year for myself instead of the company. And so, once that identity shift happened as a coach, that's when things really started taking off for me.
So how does your life feel like? Because every stage has challenges always. We don't have like a destination where, okay, I'm done, everything is done. The moment you hit the goal.
I'm all done.
Yeah. So what is like when you found your purpose, you're already making money with your purpose. What is you feel like challenging at this stage to keep going, to hit bigger numbers, or to stay to like what is going on at this stage when it's already like stable, more or less, you know who you are. What are the challenges right now happening?
That's such an awesome question because the goals I gave because we all went through COVID, we're all in lockdown, imagining, okay, when we get out of this is what I want my life to look like. And all of those things have come true. So I've had to come up with an entirely new dream. Anna knows that this in David Bear's world, we all envision our perfect life in a perfect 10-day. And what does that look like? So as I've been uncovering that, what I'm finding is I thought I started out to be a coach. And what's happening instead is I'm in the process of building this ecosystem around everything that I've learned in the last 5 years. I didn't even know I had it. I had to sit down. It took me starting to write this book to understand, like, oh my gosh, I've got an entire ecosystem that I can build here. And so I'm still trying to understand what does that look like? And so is it you continue to coach? Do you continue to speak? Do you continue to work with David? There's some opportunities to build some up and coming things with David and other collaborators. What does it look like? And I have to make the decision about what's in a life because I'm 60 years old now. So it's not like I'm 20, just starting out in life. And so it's like, what is the legacy that I want to leave behind is the kind of question that I'm asking myself right now. So the focus is in the next 5 years, I'd like to have this entire ecosystem built out around mission and service. So that's what we're aiming for next.
So amazing. I love it. I love how you say about building a legacy. And I'm a true believer that every person who becomes self aware, who connects to the purpose, no matter what is your age, should start asking what legacy am I leaving? Because we so focus on temporary goals, right? Like on one part of the puzzle, like let me just make enough money, or let me just build this dream house, or have this dream family. And then but when we start thinking legacy, it's like, wow, okay, what am I gonna leave behind? And it's just expands so many opportunities. I have another question because the topic is from
I love the
achievement to
question.
yeah, I have so many questions. I love asking questions. Yeah, so the topic is from achievement to alignment. And I know it can be challenging because as being high achievers, it's built in. You can just stay on the rollers and it's rolling and you move on. And you can find yourself repeating kind of the pattern of achievement, even if it's soul aligned already, right? Even in our purpose, we still can try to achieve. What are your indicators? How do you check in with yourself? Is it achievement or is it alignment? Is it like something I want to do,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful question. In fact, I was hosting a group call last night And one of the things that very high performers and high achievers find themselves trapped in is very sophisticated forms of procrastination. And we get very, very busy in the doing because we're achievers. I've achieved this, I've achieved this, I've achieved this. And if we run into mindset patterns that are, your brain has started to learn that it can't distract you with very simple procrastination things anymore. It's not it your brain understands that I can't scroll because I know I'm procrastinating. So it comes up with much more sophisticated ways
Like
to
what?
get you to
Give us something more, because the brain is so sneaky, tricky, so
It's
smart.
well, what I want your audience to know is procrastination is not laziness. Your brain is designed to protect you, and it's a survival mode mechanism. It is just not designed to thrive in this world. So it loves to find these sophisticated ways to procrastinate because it believes it's protecting you. So to answer your question about what does sophisticated procrastination look like,
Yeah.
then I'll tell you the pattern I uncovered in myself last month. So I have been I've had some really big revelations of patterns that have been driving me, especially in the last 20 years of my life. I've been able to uncover the genesis of it and how it shows up. And so what's happening is I've developed very, very skilled ability to analyze and uncover and pattern recognition. And what I discovered was I kept, what's the next thing to uncover? What's the next thing to uncover? What's the next thing to uncover? Instead of embodying, if I find one pattern and then review it and then embody it, make the change and embody it, and then go out and trust that the next thing that needs to be uncovered will show up. I wasn't doing that. I was actively looking for what's the next pattern I need to fix. So once I saw it, because I do like to use an AI journal to help me, the AI journal helped me see it. And I was like, oh my goodness. Because I haven't been doing the outreach that I need to do in the last 6 weeks because I've been addicted to uncovering these patterns. And once I saw it, I was like, girl, this is why you are not doing your outreach because you're busy trying to fix yourself into like you're in the little tiny corners of your mind trying to fix things when all the big stuff has been fixed. Like, stop trying to fix everything and go out and start doing, right? So that's what I
Yes.
mean by sophisticated. Or it could be working on your website for 20 hours, you know, and then you sleep for 4 hours because the website's got to be just right by the time you launch it, right? That
Yes,
could
I
be
know you launched your
sophisticated.
website recently, right? So that's probably a personal story, I assume.
It went live today. So yeah, you can check it out at it's just KathrynTraff.com. Nice and simple.
I will
Yeah.
post it in the description, yeah, so people
Yeah.
can check it out. It's amazing. Yes, this sophisticated procrastination, it's something that a lot of people don't see in themselves. I've been there. I feel all people who go through healing, they at some point they have this pattern of being in consistent healing, consistent pattern uncovery, but not actually going out there and living this new version of you. So just
You're
what if
you are
nothing else to
spot
fix?
on, Anna. You're spot on. And the more what I'm uncovering, thanks to David's clients, because my clients are so different, the more sophisticated and personal development work that you've done, the more susceptible you are to this endless pattern. Like, let's find the pattern. Let's find the pattern. It's very difficult to get people to stop looking for patterns they need to fix.
And yes, and it's the funny thing about it, and you see it in yourself, that the more self aware you are, the more educated you are, the more you're like working on your mindset, then the more you will have this hidden, sophisticated procrastinations and patterns keeping you small because your whole identity is tied to somebody who needs healing, who needs fixing. You've uncovered this like a new toy. Oh, patterns. Oh, I can uncover them. And you're like playing with this toy. It's so fun. You become this. It's like your new identity. I'm somebody who uncovers patterns. How about you're somebody who lives your dream life, you know? How about that? Yeah, so I love how you mentioned that and how you discovered that. I do same stuff, a lot of uncovering. I also write songs now based on my knowledge on neuroscience and the patterns where they actually say that no, nothing to heal anymore. Move on.
Yeah.
I recently wrote a song exactly
You're
about the
writing
situation.
songs? That's cool.
Yeah, I uncovered this amazing thing. Like I want to write songs that reprogram subconscious mind without direct, because affirmations didn't work with me. I don't know if
Let
it
me
worked
know
with.
when I can start downloading those songs.
Oh, they're on YouTube all over, so
Oh, okay,
just
good.
available. Yeah, I'm like I feel like I wanted a wider way to reach cultures, because not everything you can understand intellectually, as you have to leave the state. So you're saying you're writing a book. Is it like your story, a biography, or what is it like? How is it unfolding for you?
Yeah, I didn't even know. We're back to my faith again because 2 months ago, Holy Spirit told me I need you to write a book, and I said, "What am I going to write a book about? I don't know I don't know what to write a book about." So I just started stream of consciousness writing. And like I've got amazing client stories. So I'm sharing client stories. Sharing my own stories. I'm sharing what clients have taught me. And ChatGPT is my thought partner on this. And so as I keep uploading the manuscript, it's helping me uncover the architecture of the book right now. And it's essentially how to become the architect of your identity using neuroscience, mindset, and faith. That's what I've got right now. And I've got about 18 chapters outlined that, we're going to walk you through how we build, number one, how we build our own prisons. So the survival modes that we find ourselves in or strategies that once upon a time served us becomes our prison. Anybody who's done personal development understands that. And then I also help people walk through what it looks like to make an identity change because there's a big gap and this is where most people struggle the most. And if they don't make it, this is the area where they fall down. And then also explain the neuroscience behind identity shifting and why it can be so difficult. And I also incorporate the faith piece into it about how our brains have literally been designed to create, or excuse me, to seek something that's higher than ourselves, whatever that looks like for any of your audience. And there's neuroscience to back that up as well. So I walk people through those three pillars around the architectural identity using personal stories, client stories, and very easy to understand science.
It's so amazing. I can't wait to read it. I'm like, oh, so excited already. Oh my God, I have to read it because it's so amazing.
Right?
Actually, stream of consciousness, right? When you don't know what, you don't know, it's not born yet, but it is already inside. So that's what's amazing. It is already inside. So once you start unpacking it, you see the architecture, and with AI helping us to, kind of structurize it, makes things just easier. So I wanted really, if we can go a little bit deeper about neuroscience behind identity. A lot of people, they don't understand. They think personality, well, I'm charismatic, I'm laughing, or I'm shy. This is identity, but that's way more. Can you explain identity from scientific point of view?
Mhm.
Oh, I don't know if I can hear
Oh,
you.
yeah,
Oh,
now I can. So you cut out. So I think we had a little gap there.
okay. So I wanted to ask you to explain identity from scientific point of view.
Yeah.
So it's not personality; it's way deeper than that.
Yeah.
So people can understand.
Let's probably the easiest way to explain it to you is I'll give you a personal example that I'm talking about in the book right now. When I was a baby, I was adopted by my parents because they hadn't been able to have children previously. They had waited about 7 years. And after I was adopted, I was a couple years old, and then my parents were able to have their own biological child. And what ended up happening going forward was I made the decision in my youth that I don't belong because a series of events unfolded within the family. My sister looked exactly like my father, and I didn't look like anybody. And because I made that decision in my youth, I made it. It shaped my identity about I don't belong. I came from a family. I was loved. I was cherished. I was cared for. like I had the kind of childhood we all want to have. But because I made that decision early on, that identity of I don't belong anywhere that I go, I kept looking for more proof about I don't belong wherever I was, I don't belong here. And if you'll remember, I talked earlier about I was terrified people were going to find out I was a loser in this operating room and I didn't belong there. So that identity drove me for most of my adult life. It served me well in the standpoint that it helped me achieve very high success in my career, but it cost me a marriage. It's cost me a couple other relationships in my life. It's cost me some. I'm happy to say my family relationships are much better now, but it cost me dearly in my family relationships. And it wasn't until I made the identity shift from going from the world I was in before to this world I'm in now of I'm a coach, I always win, I've always been a winner, I am worthy, I am loved. I have a completely new identity now than I used to. And because I've been able to make that switch, my brain and my nervous system, because it's been one repetition after the other of, and we can talk a little bit more about this too, about how reps work in the brain. I've for the last 5 years, I've put the daily work in telling my brain that it's that thanks for showing up. That version of you isn't needed here anymore. I need this new version to run the show. And so every single day I've done something to help my nervous system understand both somatically from using music, from using breathing, from using Anna knows there's something that we use called a decision matrix between neural sculpting, between vision. I use that entire combination because I'm literally creating new neural structures in the brain with my thoughts. We do have that capability. So that's how, if you don't put that kind of work in and that kind of repetition in, you will not be able to successfully make the switch from one identity to the next. Mindset won't be enough.
Yeah, and it's so important. A lot of people, they stick to mindset. They believe, oh, I believe in my dreams now. I believe that I'm worthy. And it's amazing thing. It's a huge shift, but it's only part of it. And you mentioned some. So the process, so the science between shift and identity is creating the new version, right? And repetition. So can you just go more into this repetition thing as a scientist from scientific point of view?
Yes. So one of the things that people don't quite understand, you do understand it, but you don't understand it. So we all understand that when we are learning to play a musical instrument, we have to practice. If we're learning to ride a bicycle, we have to get on the bicycle and we have to teach our entire body and nervous system what it is to balance. And we have to do, the more we ride the bicycle, the better we get at riding the bicycle. And so when you're training your brain to shift into a new identity, it really wants to keep falling back into this autopilot pattern of the old identity because it knows how to do that. And your brain, I'll give you a quick little factoid here. Your brain uses about 20% of your daily energy. And because it's such an energy hungry organ, it has to be incredibly efficient with the energy that it gets. So it puts on autopilot as many things as possible, including your belief about who you are and what your identity is. So it goes on autopilot. And in order to create a brand new pattern to get it to be your new autopilot, your new default, you have to do repetition after repetition after repetition. Because when you think about what it was to get you there, so let's think about we all have heard the stories about women who are in abusive relationships and how difficult it is for them to leave the relationships. Their nervous system has learned over time how to function in this world of chaos. It does not understand that this new world, which it doesn't have very much information about, you're going to leave this world where it knows how to function, and now you're going to go into the new world where your brain does not know how to function. So your brain thinks that even though you're getting beat up in the relationship, your brain thinks it's safer here because I know how to function here than if you go in the new world because you don't have repetition, you don't have evidence and experience in the new world yet because your brain is really pretty much just an LLM. right? It collects patterns, it collects data, and it makes decisions based on the patterns in the data about what's going to happen in the future. So if it can't predict in the future, it throws up all kinds of information about you're going to end up living under a bridge, you're going to run out of money. It always goes to the worst case scenario, doesn't it? Because it's trying to protect you to not take the action it doesn't have any information about. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I was recently uncovering this. Why am I constantly anticipating something bad happens? Like when I'm driving, I already say, oh, this car could crash into me, or this could do this, or my baby could fall into that. And then I just realize, oh, my brain is just scanning the environment as being hyper vigilant. That's from my childhood trauma. I'm just constantly anticipating threats and constantly calculating all possible threats to survive. And I'm like, oh, I can stop doing that. It was life got so much easier after that. That was something very interesting. I feel like we are not having enough information about the brain, the nervous system. The school education is very limited. And people are just
We don't teach
stuck
anything.
on mindset. So
Yeah.
it's so amazing that you're writing this book. And it's so amazing there are more and more emerging coaches, people, content creators who talk about this. So it's just also all the ecosystem. And I'm just so grateful that you shared now this with us here. And last thing I want to ask you before we wrap this up.
Yeah.
If somebody is already self-aware, already done mindset work, found the purpose, and they're in the process of identity shifting.
Yeah.
What would you say the most tricky part? It's tricky part that costs a lot of time and effort, and then you finally uncover it and I wish I knew this before.
I think the thing that was life-changing for me, you and I have talked about this, is when I understood the concept of beliefs are decisions and you get to make a new decision at any time. I somehow received the message in life that because you believed something, it was true for always and ever. I'm a loser. It's true, always and ever. Money's hard to make. It's true, always and forever. There's not enough time. So when I was given the tool to understand that beliefs are decisions and I get to make a new decision at any time, and as long as I collect the evidence for why the new decision is true, then I can actively train my brain, as long as I'm putting the reps in, to understand that money is easy to make. There is enough time. Um, there is, because I used to, a big one for me used to be uncertainty is dangerous. Uncertainty is full of beautiful possibilities that I get to walk into. So between that thing, understanding that you can make new decisions about your life at any time, and your willingness to do the neurosculpting around it, when you get into that gap, because the gap is the scariest time for everybody. And like I mentioned earlier, it's the critical time if you're going to make the shift or not make it. It will make or break you. And I didn't understand what the gap was. Nobody ever told me, even when I was getting coached, no one ever told me, you're in the gap. This is what it looks like. This is the process. And I know you and I've had that conversation too. And I could just see the look of relief on your face when I told you, you're right on track because you're in the gap. This is what the gap looks like. Yeah. And so what I want people to know is beliefs are decisions. And when you are in the gap, I want you to recognize and understand that if you just keep moving and doing and neurosculpting and getting assistance that you need, you will make the shift. You will make the shift.
Yes, absolutely. I call it the void before the breakthrough. It's
Perfect.
You're in the void and you're absolutely have no idea what's going on, challenged at all corners. But then you meet somebody, a coach, and say, hey, it's okay. It's
Well,
okay.
no one ever taught us that. No one ever said, this is what it looks like, because I kept thinking something was wrong with me that I was like, why am I not breaking through? And it's like, because it's not time for breakthrough because you're in the middle of the gap and you have to go through the process.
Yes, it's a process. The seed is growing, you don't see it, but so many processes happening. And that is why it is so important for people who've been through that. Still, there are so many people who don't show up. You're writing a book finally, you're showing up, you're hosting calls. But I want more and more people to share their stories, to open up, to write their books, to launch their podcasts. There's enough place for everybody. There is no competition because your story is unique. Like Kathryn, for sure there are people who have some kind of similarity. We have similarity, me and you, right? But still, your book exists and it has audience for it. And my book eventually will exist, and other people. Like, there is no competition. We're all one and unique at the same time. And there are people who are waiting for your book, and it's so important for people to share. So I just want to ask everybody who is in doubt. I don't know who needs to hear that. So please go ahead, please share. It's so important. These conversations are so important for the world. I thank you so much. And if there is anything else you want to share to wrap this up, please go ahead.
Yeah. I think the last thing I want to leave people with is so many people tell themselves that they're behind. And what I want people to understand is you're not behind. You do need to understand what's important to you, and then you take aligned action to what's important to you. But I did have a conversation with a client yesterday. His father is dying. He's probably going to die very soon. And we both had very strong realization that what we want to make sure we're taking action on a daily basis that leaves a legacy behind to people and honors who we've been created to be in this world. So I want to say to people, you're on track, but I also want you to take your days very intentionally and live in a place of alignment as you move forward.
That's amazing. I cannot think of better way to wrap this up. I'm so grateful for this conversation. I'm grateful for our coaching. It was really bliss on my way, helping me through everything that you've discussed right now here on this call. And next time we do it, everybody will see your wonderful face. Anyways, we're gonna share recordings. We'll put your picture there, and it's okay. People can follow you on your social media, also find out more about you. So thank you so much. Thank you everybody who watched. Please share your comments, share your breakthroughs, share your stories, send this to somebody who needs to hear this. And we will see you soon. And remember, I want to wrap this up. It's not that serious. Life is a game. It's a tough game. It's a beautiful game, but it is a quest.